Now, last episode on the Just Create SMP server, I built, well, a giant shopping area. An area designed for others to build beside it. And of course, well, that was last episode, so nobody has built anything just yet, but this is ultimately the design, and to use this area to sell lots of my goods. And I've even placed in some other things, but these are going to, of course, be higher prices if you buy them from the shop instead of going to my base and buying them. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. You're sort of paying for, well, shopping area convenience. For example, back at my base, you can get 2 stacks of mushrooms for 1 diamond, whereas here you only get 1 stack. But now I would love to be able to sell some other premium crafted goods. So I think this is time for me to start another factory. And where shall we build such new farm? I'm thinking right here, essentially attached to the mall, because the thing that I have planned for today, well, is going to involve resources that our mall produces. And what's the thing I want to farm? Well, lapis and prismarine, and all of the things that you can craft from it. Now, this is going to be a rather big project because there's a lot of things on the to-do list here. Not only do I need to loop in lapis, which is going to involve sending quartz over to our system from the mall, but if we do plan on crafting dark prismarine, we're also going to need to pull black dye, which we're actually getting from the mall. And black dye we're getting by simply crushing charcoal that we get from, well, burning our logs. What's going to be really fun is the way I want to go about getting the resources from here over to here. This time, I don't really want to use the chain conveyors, even though I could. What I really want to try is using trains. But not just any train, I want to use a monorail. And a monorail system that goes this way and this way, back and forth, back and forth. So what I'm thinking is we build out the base frame for which the train car will go back and forth, and then on top of that, well, that's where we're going to build our factory. Now, the building itself for which we are going to do all of our automation is going to be up here on the side of this building, but down here is going to be the frame supports for the train carriage. And this is where I think that all of these designs right here are really going to sort of be shown off, as this is essentially going to be a much larger version of that. So I think it's going to be time to sort of frame this whole thing out. With the base foundation in, the rest of it should be rather simple, as I just need to build some arches within. But some tips when using the wand of symmetry. Essentially, what I have done is I have taken the center point from here, which our connection point is here, taken the centermost section all the way to centermost section here, and then so long as it's an odd number, you divide that odd number by 2, and then you round up. And then that's how many blocks forward you need to go. And once you find that intersection, building symmetrical things like this, like for bridges, just become a whole lot easier. As all I have to do now is change my mode into rectangular mode, and anything that I place on this side will get cast on this side, but also mirrored onto the other side as well. Meaning that I can build an arch on this side, and all 4 edges are going to also receive that same mirrored effect. I must say, with the rain and everything, my goodness, is that a gorgeous view coming off the mall. Now with the framing done, and we now have the ability to place in a rail, we need, well, the monorail. Because, well, up to this point, I haven't really done much train things at all. Well, besides buying sturdy sheets from Foxy, turning them into train casings, and then, well, providing train signals so people can buy those. Now I tell you, this is just a really cool part of the mall, right? For example, let's say I want to make a train station, and I want to be able to make at least one of these, or keep two or so in stock at one time. So I need to make a compass. So I'll go ahead and I'll select the whole thing, come over to an empty spot on the board somewhere, and then all I have to do is add said compass to the list, select the ingredients, which in this case is going to be redstone and iron, which we definitely have in stock. So there's that, and the redstone. Set that to craft, and then set it to go to like crafter 1, for example, and then all we have to do is keep so many in stock. And then I'll follow up and do the exact same thing, but for train stations. But instead, this is going to use that compass that we just assigned, and also the casings that I have over here, which are being supplied, by the way, from Foxy's setup. So all I had to do was go buy them, and then we just set that to crafter 2, for example. I think that would work. Crafter 2. Perfect. And so I'll set this to just keep like 2 in stock, right? And so that just should do a single craft. Now I think I also want to automate monorail tracks, or potentially have this be an area where I can automate monorails, and if I want any other train track down the road, I can potentially modify it in order to make those. For right now though, monorail is the ones I really want. So I think setting up an automation station for our mall would be a good idea. So something like this is going to work. We have deployer, and then press. And then what I'm thinking is hopper that goes into both sides like so. And then we'll have a depot on the top here for both sides. And back here on the barrel, we'll do some very special splitting. So we're going to need these 2 top pieces to make their way up top. So they are going to go into a weighted ejector. And this weighted ejector will be bound here, and then this weighted ejector will be bound here. And this is where we'll do that split. So to go into the first deployer, we'll make sure to place in, I think it's actually the metal bracket. Yeah, the metal bracket, and then it'll be sheets. And then the product that goes down the middle of the belt will be a girder. And so we just need to make sure to filter the girder going out there. Now, because weighted ejectors are really wonky, we also want to make sure this is set to exactly 1, so that way it only sends 1 at a time onto the weighted ejector. After getting the whole system powered up, the only thing we need is a way to get it back into the barrel. And then over here, I have my pulse timer that is going to be timing this, setting this to every 10 or so, making sure that sends to main. The frog is then connected. This also needs to be set to send only. And then this one is labeled tracks. Now for the fun part, we drag this in, and then we've just got to connect the dots. With all of them connected, we then want to bring this up to 6, which is the amount that we make per recipe. So it's a 1:6 ratio. And then we'll say, send this to tracks. And I think that's literally it. I just want to request a total of 6 to keep those in stock. But I think what this will do is it'll send that package up. That should route over to tracks. And the goal is that this processes everything correctly. And correctly it did right there. So we now have our return, which means that I can keep like a stack in stock. By the way, we can watch it happen right here. It's doing all of the things, sending them onto the depot, flinging the items up. Ah, I love seeing that. I think the only other thing we really need is the train controls. And so, yeah, just keeping a couple of those in stock. So with my first train components ready to go, we just need to place down our monorail here and then click it once to set it much like any other regular train track. However, this allows our trains to be upside down, which I think in itself is kind of wild. So I'm just going to line myself up like this, place it in, and we should have a perfectly straight monorail. Now out on the end where it terminates, I've added this little neat thing. I don't know, just to kind of look like a bumper, just to prevent it from ever coming off, or at least that's the idea for it. Create trains, or at least within base create, they don't really come off the track. They can derail, which is kind of where they just break, but they still remain on the track. They'll never fall off the track, but it is always kind of cool to add little details like this. Now back to the train itself, I do want this train to go backwards and forwards, and so to be able to do this, you do need the trains to be facing into each other. So if I have this one, it needs to be facing that direction, and when I place down another train station, it needs to be facing in this direction. So that way we have a train that goes this way and a train that goes this way. But it's all just one train. And to do this, well, we're gonna have to have two train controls facing in both directions. Now with our first train station in, all I have to do is hit create new train. And on this, you can see it marks our current position for where everything is going to start. And for this, we are going to need a train casing. Now that I've got the train casing, well, I can place that on the bottom, and notice, by the way, we get this really awesome monorail. Currently, it's not aligned or in any position where I currently want it to permanently be, but thankfully we can change that later on by moving our train station starting position. So don't really worry about too much where you're placing things whenever you first start to place in trains. Now for the actual cargo container line, I wanted to mimic this setup right here. So I want it to kind of follow this same or similar design, and I want it to be stackable. So that way we have this also directly underneath our other carriage. So with my design in, I can actually start laying out the cargo container, and I know exactly how long this is going to be. It's only going to be 9 blocks long. And this is going to be our first one in our section. This is going to go out one from the front, and then 1, 2, until we basically run out of blocks by using the white shipping containers, which I want to use white and blue shipping containers for this because we're going to be storing quartz and also handling lapis, which makes total sense. Now, because this is the position of our bogie and we want it to be glued as one train system, well, we're going to need our other bogie placed in this position right here. And so long as we glue this whole contraption together, these two are going to become the basic train engine. I think this looks rather nice. And I was trying to figure out how could I get train controls on here and it actually work out. And so Blazy going in the actual train center. I've got a shaft that runs down the center and I have my train controls on both sides. And the blaze burner is all you need. You don't have to have an entity on here. You just can use a blaze burner. This is also safe for nether travel, as you don't have to worry about the entity potentially dying upon entry and yeah, coming back out of that nether portal. But all we have to do now is just glue this whole thing together, and it's pretty much ready to go. I do have to keep in mind I have this 1 block off the ground, but I think I'm going to add some sort of railing skates to sort of look like it also sort of drags along the ground for support. And that is a glued contraption that should be ready to rock and roll. So I don't have a seat for me to set on, but I still can control this. So all we have to do now is hit assemble train, and it says resolve this entry, structure attached to bogie 1, no structure attached to bogie 1. I think I have to click here to here. That's right. And here to here. Okay, so that should be the only thing preventing us. And then when we assemble, we now have a train, and it says all aboard. And so I can grab the train controls, and this thing can move back and forth. Oh, that is so nice. Just a better perspective of that moving back and forth. I mean, look at this. That is so neat. I've got a couple of things to fix, like our little railing and things like that. But outside of this, this is going to be moving back and forth, back and forth. Now with our train assembled, it is at the train station, but it will stay a train even if we remove the train station. And I did the math. We need to go up, I think, 1, 2, 3 blocks. And if we place the train station here, we should be able to maneuver this in such a way to relink to the new train station. And I want this to be sort of even. As you can see, I need to go 1 more block forward, but basically we can get this perfectly aligned with this section. Now, if up to this point you're already lost, well, believe me, things are not going to get any easier, because the hardest part about trains, in my opinion, is setting up the train schedule and making sure all of your stations are set up properly. As of right now, we only have 1 train station, but I do need to add another train station, and this needs to be the stopping destination. And so actually I may have these backwards. These may need to be facing the other direction, and we may still have to maneuver these in different positions to get this to go where I kind of want them. So I think the travel to position needs to be facing outwards, And then this one, to travel back, needs to be facing the other direction. So let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to take this one. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4 blocks out, and then place that train station in. And then over here, I need to figure out where I want this train to ultimately end up. And I'm thinking like sort of in the middle here. And so if it's in the middle, I do know that I want this whole thing to sort of butt up to the whole frame. So I've got to keep that in mind, and I got to keep in mind where this train station's going to go. I think that position is going to be right about here. And so just like we did on our other one, I'm going to place the train station inside of here. So now we have 2 different train stations, one facing this way and one facing the other. Now I'm going to name this train station for now POI 1. Or I guess I could call it POI home because it's the POI for the home position. And then we'll call this other one like POI destination. You know what? We'll call this POI mall. And I think that is going to be perfect. And for now, just to know if the train is running back and forth, I'm going to set it on a schedule to do that. Just simply run back and forth. So we need to go in here and we need to set this to travel to station. And it should show the closest ones to us. So POI home is not going to be the first place we want to go. We want to go to POI mall first, and then wait a little bit for right now, and then travel to the other station, which is its home position. And so this is all it should do. It should just travel back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. There's a lot of other conditions we can give to things, but the goal is that this is going to run all the way over here, but up to this destination. Perfect. Stop for 5 seconds, and then it should go back. Yes, that is beautiful. And we now have at least the basic idea working. Now, as far as some guide rails go, some more girders, I think it's just going to add even more detail, and then possibly breaking through the bottom here and adding some more industrial iron. Talk about adding a level of detail. We can also drop in some of these mechanical grindstone wheels and sort of spread them out like every few blocks. Now it almost looks like a braking system, like it runs underneath here and slows it down until it ultimately stops in position. Now that most of the decorative stuff is sort of out of the way, I want to start figuring out the logistics. And this is where I do want to utilize the rather new, well, of course, whenever the package system came out, the rather new way to send packages through the train without even needing any sort of input device. That's right. You can basically wirelessly send items into your trains and out of them. For this system to work, we're going to need a post box, and I can easily make black post boxes. So that's the ones that I currently have being produced in the mall. So post boxes are very, very powerful in the fact that, like I said, they allow us to send items wirelessly. But how exactly does that work? Well, the first thing we need to do is link a post box to the actual train station that we want it to interact. And normally it's only a 5-block range, but we have it set to be able to work up to 16 blocks. And so I think right over here, if I go into here, yes, in this area right here, we can set this post box anywhere in here, and this can actually send items into our train. So we can have a frog that essentially sends items into this empty post box. And what we'll do is we'll address packages to be very specific, and those packages will have an address, and the address isn't labeled on this post box, but if we put a package in this post box, it will automatically load it into the train. And then let's just say over here, we have this post box that's linked up to this train station. Well, this one actually does have the address. And so we'll call this main post, just for right now, just to sort of demonstrate. Now with our main post box set up right here, let's go ahead and trigger ourselves a request. So a way we can do that is by having a packager. I have a factory gauge that's linked to the mall. And what I want to do is request something, I don't know, like quartz, for example. Quartz we do have in the mall. So I'm going to say, hey, send some quartz. And then where do I want it to send? Well, I want it to send to main post and then quartz. So we'll say quartz underneath it like this. And the interesting thing is we really want main post to be the thing that we receive. So this is going to be main post, but it's also going to have an asterisk after it. to say anything after main post, well, I want that to go here. So if I request anything over here that is going to use the post system, I need to make sure to prefix it main post in order to do this. This is just sort of the idea for how to get items around. Now, to be able to get it into our other post box, well, we're going to need a frog, and we're also going to need a chute just to sort of get the package in. We don't need a packager for this because the package is already going to get created by them all. So let's place a chute down, and then the frog is going to be linked to the chain right here. And then this is also going to be called main_post, but with an asterisk. So this is going to just collect the package that is labeled that, send it into the chute, the package itself, and then the package is going to go into the post box. And then when the train comes up, the train is going to take said package. And we should know this works whenever this post box ends up with a package that is addressed as the quartz, because getting the package out of the post box is pretty easy. We can use any sort of funnel device. I just kind of want to show this as an example. So let's just say we want to request 1. And so we should be able to watch the package get eaten up over here by a frog once it finally makes its way there. So that made it in there. Now we can see that the cardboard is labeled here, main post quartz. The train is going to make its way back. And then the idea is that once it makes it here, notice that the package is gone because it is now in the actual train. And now the train is heading back. And this is where the magic happens. Wireless item transportation. This has now received the box and everything is good. So now if I had a way of sending the item out, that would then go into here and then that would resolve the promise. This is how we can do train package logistics. It is absolutely wild. So there is a reason for having this train run back and forth. And that's because, like I said, I want to request things and I want to build the factory on top of this section right here. And so I'll be diving a bit deeper into how we do this later on, but for now, well, we have this project to sort of work on and we have to start getting, well, things moving. You know what? Speaking of things moving, there is another thing that we could actually do to our train's schedule. I don't know if I want it to operate this way, but I do want to show how cool this is. So as of right now, we have it just traveling back and forth, but we can choose to do other things. For example, retrieve packages. We can have it go to retrieve packages, and you can use an asterisk to retrieve all packages, just like that. And then you can also set this one to deposit or deliver packages. And you don't have to set anything here. It's just going to deliver where it is assigned to go. But the problem is we lose the animation, and the only time that this would ever travel over here is if that mailbox that is connected to that train station has a package that needs to be received in it. So this is great, but it does lead to our train currently just like moving and just staying still, which is not exactly what I want. This would be cool for a train that just sits in a train station until it needs a package to be moved. But in most cases, you're always going to be sending packages, so the train should always be moving. But my little scenario here, I think it's best just to have it shuttling back and forth and back and forth. Ooh, but this has me thinking too. What if we made a train that shuttles back and forth to the shopping area? I think that would be a really fun project, like to have a tunnel of some sort that potentially runs through, because I wouldn't want to build massive structures like this, spamming it through the valleys that everybody's going to be building in. But we could potentially take them underground. Hardest part about that would be turns. But you know what? That's a project for another day. And speaking of a project for another day, I do want to lay a little bit of groundwork on a project that is going to be for another day, and that is going to be the bridge. So what I want to do is start my section. Yes, I'm just going to add some blocks like this and just, add my little footprint. And I think he'll get 1, 2, 3 sections, and I'll get 3 sections, and I'll see what he does. Maybe he will add a few blocks, and we'll just continue this on until eventually the bridge is built. Hope he gets the hint. This is not anything, by the way, that we're discussing. Like, this is just happening organically. It'll be funny to see, though. It's your play, Mr. Beardstone. You know what? Speaking of shopping, that is something that I should probably update. Here in the mall, I could definitely add some of these train components. The only limiting factor is I just have to restock. So if we pop all the way up to the very, very top, I'm kind of curious to see what the number is up here. Oh my goodness, 1,137 orders. That is a crazy number to see so far. What I really need to do is get all of the basic components that we are auto crafting set up. I'm sure I can get more later on, but for right now, the big ones that I want are train casings. So I'm thinking we say 8 for a diamond for right now. I think that seems reasonable. Train controls, which are probably one of the more painful things. I think I'm gonna do 4 for a diamond. And then I'm gonna do train stations, which train stations I'll do 8 for a diamond. I think that seems pretty reasonable for some basic train components that are going to be sold inside the mall. Super convenient for everybody to just pop in, throw a couple diamonds in here, and build a train. Now today was primarily train logistics and making sure we can get a train set up and built. And this, in my opinion, is probably one of the more complicated parts of the entire setup that we're about to do. But next is going to be a factory. Oh yes, I want to build another factory that can do factory things, and that is going to be processing lapis, processing blue dye, and making all of the prismarine things, which I think would be a really fun thing to do. And it even has the ability, as I seen because Silence farming it, well, we can even make glowstone from this. So yeah, having more glowstone across the server, I think is always a good thing. And with that, we're getting ever so close to the potential of potion automation down the road, which I think would be really awesome. Very complex, very, very complex, especially if I want to do all of them, but doable. But would definitely require AFKing for blaze powder and all that fun stuff, but doable. And so guys, with that, I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hopefully you learned something new. And if you did, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. And now, without further ado, it is time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Finch over on the Discord. Thank you so much for your amazing support in choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so very much. And guys, I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. And as always, thanks for watching. It's gonna kill me, isn't it?